At first, she thought he was a fan. He had written her letters before, and she had even replied. But on the 18th of July, 1989, Robert Bardo, a psychotic and schizophrenic stalker who she thought came for an autograph, turned out to be the person who ended her life prematurely. This video entails the tragic details of Rebecca Schaeffer's life, from childhood down to her untimely demise, navigating her rocky childhood ambition. Only very few American actresses start out their lives away from acting and entertainment, and there could be no farther background from Hollywood other than Rebecca Schaeffer's. Born November 6, 1967, Schaeffer was born into a very strict and religious family. Her parents, being Jewish, trained her in the way of their beliefs and religion as they trained others, too. Her mother, Dana Schaeffer, was a writer and instructor who taught at Willamette University and Portland Community College. Her father, Benson Schaeffer, was a child psychologist. They both raised their daughter in Portland and had her attend Lincoln High School. As religious Jews, they taught Rebecca the Jewish tenets and doctrines, and eventually she began to nurse aspirations to become rabbi, to the joy of her parents. But as she grew older, Rebecca became more beautiful by the day and carried herself with such poise and grace. She thought nothing of it at first, but then in her junior year in high school, something drastic happened. She was exposed to secular magazines, and she would often stare at billboards and pay extra attention to commercials. She was attracted by the models on these magazines and billboards. Gradually, the little girl who wanted to become a rabbi suddenly began to nurse new aspirations, becoming a model. Ordinarily, a girl her age was supposed to be excited and anxious about this, and even her close friends and classmates agreed that she had made the right decision and would be great as a model. She had the beauty, poise, grace, and all the other ingredients that superstar models have. But Rebecca knew one thing stood in her way: her parents. When she finally summoned up the courage to tell her parents, they couldn't believe it. They strongly resisted at first, causing Rebecca to feel sadder than she had ever been and become more and more frustrated. She would often cry herself to sleep, but she decided to pursue her modeling dreams by all means, and so she would audition and model for department store catalogs and small television commercials. However, this tragic story developed a happy ending as, in 1984, her parents finally saw from her point of view and allowed her to move to New York to pursue her modeling career fully, with their blessings. Schaeffer's modeling career failure. Initially, Schaeffer moved to New York with the expectation of landing modeling gigs and being the best she could be. Then, in all her findings, she discovered that acting was a possibility too. From that moment on, she decided to be open to anything as long as it had to do with entertainment. This is what informed her decision to enroll in the Professional Children's School, where they groomed children on acting and dancing. At the same time, she also began to earnestly hunt for movie and modeling opportunities. Finally, she scored a role in a daytime soap opera called Guiding Light. Although her role in the opera was short, it encouraged her and gave her more strength to keep on trying. She strongly believed that if she could get one small role, then she could surely get bigger roles and eventually make it to the big screens, or become a full-blown superstar model. She kept trying, applying, and auditioning for more opportunities everywhere, and although it was hard, she was more than determined to see her dream come true. Eventually, she was able to secure another role in ABC's One Life to Live, and she was excited about it. She told her parents, and they were proud of her. She got the role of Annie Barnes, and she intended to play it to the best of her ability. Sadly, however, the series only lasted 6 months before it was over, and before she knew it, Schaeffer was back to square one. This time she decided to find more modeling opportunities, but the more she searched, the harder doors were shut in her face. Eventually, she came to the realization that no modeling agency would hire her because she was shorter and weighed a bit more than what they were looking for. She wasn't going to find work with modeling agencies, not in New York anyways. So, in 1985, she moved all the way to Japan in search of modeling opportunities, but the same old story was what she was told. She was too short and above the accepted weight mark. Sad and devastated, she returned to New York to focus only on finding acting opportunities in hopes that she would have better luck. Her modeling dreams had been dashed, her acting career failure. In 1986, the same year she returned to New York, she finally landed another small role in Woody Allen's comedy called Radio Days. Again, she played the role to the best of her ability and was actually excited because the film had the potential to give her the recognition she deserved. However, disappointment struck again as when the movie was out, she realized her role in the movie was edited and a huge chunk of her acting was taken out. But Schaeffer was still resilient. She took a job as a waitress to pay the bills and continues her search for acting roles. Then suddenly, modeling roles began to fall on her lap as she appeared on the cover of 17 magazine. And that caught the attention of the producers who were casting for a new comedy series called My Sister Sam. Again, Schaeffer got excited and gave the role her very best. She put out an outstanding performance for a whole season. Unlike the rest, this role was not short-lived, and she was glad about that, but halfway through the second season, the film was canceled due to poor ratings. Once again, Schaeffer was frustrated and disappointed. Schaeffer's tragic end. In the late 1980s, Schaeffer had begun to get more roles, and it looked like her career was finally taking off. She began to gain a lot of fans, a lot of which wrote letters to her telling her what an amazing job she was doing, and it made her realize how far she had come, despite all the hurdles in her path. However, unfortunately, one of her fans, Robert John Bardo, liked her a little too much. Bardo was obsessed with Schaeffer, and he would often write letters to her, numerous letters, in fact, one of which Schaeffer even answered, endearing her to him more. He needed to meet her, to see her in person. So Bardo made the trip to Los Angeles hoping to meet Schaeffer on the set of My Sister Sam. However, as soon as he reached, the guards would not let him in, and he was forcefully removed. Bardo was disappointed, but he would not take no for an answer, so he returned, this time with a knife. But once again, the security team didn't let him in. He finally gave up and decided to go back to his hometown in Tucson, Arizona. He was briefly obsessed with other people during that time, so Schaeffer wasn't on his mind until one day he came across a scene in the comedy series Scenes from the class Struggle in Beverly Hills, where Schaeffer's character was in bed with another actor. Bardo was enraged, and so he paid a private investigator $250 to track and find exactly where Schaeffer lived. Eventually, the detective got back to him, and he headed straight to Schaeffer's neighborhood with a gun he had procured with the help of his brother. On July 18, 1989, Bardo rang the doorbell of Schaeffer's house, and because she was rehearsing her lines for an upcoming film project, she briefly answered him, mistook him for a harmless fan, and hurriedly signed him an autograph. Bardo was upset, so he rang the doorbell again. As soon as she opened it, Bardo pulled a gun on her at point-blank range and pulled the trigger. Schaeffer fell to the ground and uttered one word as she fought to stay alive. Why? Bardo immediately took off, but was later found and arrested. Schaeffer, on the other hand, was rushed to the hospital, but passed on 30 minutes after arrival. It was a tragic day for Hollywood, and Schaeffer would not soon be forgotten. What do you think of the life and career of Rebecca Schaeffer? Let us know in the comments. Also, watch out for the next video.